What is up guys, welcome to another video. Because there are always new components that are getting released and PC components prices are always changing, I decided to make this video. In this video I'm gonna show you what parts I will use if I have a 25,000, 35,000 and 50,000 peso budget. I'm gonna do these videos every month to keep up with prices, so definitely subscribe if you don't want to miss out. First up, let's have the 25,000 peso build. For the CPU, we have the PENTIUM G5400 for 3,540 pesos. Before this chip was released, we don't have much choice when it comes to Coffee Lake budget CPUs. We only have the Intel cores, and yeah, that's that. But since this chip came out, this chip became the successor of the widely popular G4560. The only major difference between these is the architecture. While G4560 is Kaby Lake, the G5400 is Coffee Lake. It also has a higher base frequency of 3.7 GHz compared to G4560's 3.5 GHz. When it comes to budget gaming, you can never go wrong with this chip. For the motherboard, we have the Gigabyte B360M HD3 for 4,850 pesos. H310 might be cheaper, but it's like a 500 peso difference. And it's better to go for B360 like this Gigabyte B360M HD3. It has 2 RAM slots which supports dual channel up to 32 GB. Supports crossfire configuration if you ever want to buy AMD graphics cards, and it has an M.2 slot that can support Optane memory for faster storage. For the RAM, we have the G-Skill Value 1x8 GB kit clocked at 2,400 MHz for 4,150 pesos. Dual channel might give a very small amount of FPS on games, but since we're on a budget, single channel will do just fine. It's a value RAM, so you won't really expect any fancy heat spreaders, but since RAM prices are skyrocketing, 8 GB of it is a bargain. For the graphics card, we have the ZOTAC GTX 1050 Mini for 7,350 pesos. I've talked a lot about GTX 1050 in my past videos, and I say that it's hands down what you should be finding when you're in a budget. 2 GB of VRAM is enough to play some games decently in 1080p with medium to high settings, but don't get your hopes up if you think that this card can max out any game. Because of this card's compact design, ZOTAC claims that this card can fit on 99% of systems. For the power supply, we have the CORSAIR VS450 for 1,790 pesos. CORSAIR is reliable, and you won't get anything this good for this cheap. 450 watts is enough for this build and a bit of upgrading in the future. For storage, we have WD BLUE 1TB for 2,200 pesos. 1TB of storage is still enough for building a very capable budget gaming PC with all the latest and greatest games. For the case, we have the Sharkoon VS4-S for 1,290 pesos. This case is very good for its price tag. It supports up to an ADX motherboard. It supports mounts for optical drives if you still use those. Has drive base with plenty of space for SSDs and HDDs. Has an included 120mm fan in the front, and the interior and exterior is painted all black for a sleek look. The IOS consists of 2 USB 2.0 audio jacks and a power button. You can't really ask for more for a case in this price point. All in all, this build will cost you 25,170 pesos. If you can save more money, definitely check out this build, which has a better price to performance ratio. For the next build, we have the 35,000 build. For the CPU, I chose the Core i3-8100 for 6,100 pesos. This chip is a quad core, so if you're an aspiring content creator and whatnot, you should pick one of these. As I have said, it has 4 cores with 4 threads with a base clock of 3.5 GHz. Motherboard, I still chose the Gigabyte B360 HD3 for 4,850 pesos. Even in this budget, I would still pick this because of its features, as I have explained earlier. What I will change is the RAM. For the RAM, I chose the G-Skill AEGIS 2x4GB DDR4 clocked at 2,400 MHz for 5,200 pesos. With a dual channel kit like this, we can have free performance by just populating our 2 RAM slots and run a dual channel configuration. And this kit has the AEGIS heat spreaders to dissipate heat from the sticks. For the graphics card, I chose the Palette GTX 1060 3GB Stormex for 13,850 pesos. The 3GB variant of GTX 1060 may have a lower VRAM than, let's say, a GTX 1050 Ti with 4GB. The GPU of this card is still better. It has 1152 CUDA cores and has a base clock of 1506 MHz and boosts up to 1708 MHz. With this card, you can almost always max out any game in 1080p, play in 1440p, and even VR gaming if that's what you're into. For power supply, I chose the CORSAIR VS450 for 1,790 pesos. 450 watts is still more than enough to handle this build, and CORSAIR VS450 is still a good choice. For storage, I chose the WD BLUE 1TB for 2,200 pesos. I tried to squeeze in another SSD for the operating system, but the budget did not make it. But you can just add one if your budget allows it. For the case, I chose the TECWARE NEXUS M TG Black for 1,500. At first glance, it looks very expensive as it looks like a replica of the S340 case from NZXT. The motherboard will fit perfectly in this case as it supports micro ATX and mini ATX motherboards. It has 3 included 120mm fans, has 4 expansion slots with supports of up to 340mm graphics cards, has a PSU chamber that covers the drive cage and the power supply, of course, has dust filter in both the front and for the power supply. It has routes for cable management, but unfortunately it doesn't have any rubber grommets. Well, they've gotta make some minor compromises in this price point. Has a USB 3.0 and 2 USB 2s for the front I/O. All in all, a great case for the price. All in all, the total cost of this build is 35,490 pesos, a little bit over the budget. If you have a very flexible budget or in need of a very capable gaming and productivity PC, you better check out this next build. For the next build, we have the 50,000 peso build. For the CPU, I chose the Ryzen 5 1600 for 11,100 pesos. This chip is very good for content creators who uses multi-threaded applications with its 6 cores and 12 threads, and has a base clock of 3.2 GHz and boosts up to 3.6 GHz. And since it is Ryzen, it is unlocked and can be overclocked with its included Wraith Spire cooler. I was gonna choose the new Ryzen 5 2600, but X470 that supports 2nd gen Ryzen out of the box are expensive. 8,000 peso is the cheapest one in the DynaquestPC if I'm not mistaken. But this chip is still very capable in my opinion, even in stock settings. For the motherboard, I chose the ASUS Prime B350 Plus for 5,700 pesos. Choosing this motherboard is a no-brainer. It has excellent room for upgradability with 4 RAM slots up to 64GB, can overclock our 1600 no problem because of the B350 chipset, and aesthetically it has those red linings which gives it that gamer look. For the RAM, I chose the G-Skill RIPJAWS V 2x4GB DDR4 clocked at 2,800 MHz. Ryzen favors higher clocked RAM and gives the PC more FPS in games and added performance and productivity. This kit also has those red heat spreaders that will be perfect match for the color of our motherboard. For the GPU, I chose the Galaxy GTX 1060 6GB for 18,500 pesos. This is the most expensive component in this build. This card does not only has more VRAM than the 3GB of 1060, but it also has a better GPU. With this card, you can pretty much max out any game you throw at it in 1080p and play 1440p at 60 FPS and play some VR titles. For the power supply, I chose the Cooler Master Elite V3 600W for 2,400 pesos. 600W is enough power to power up all the hardware inside, and by choosing Cooler Master, you know your components will be safe. For storage, I chose ADTA XPG SX6000 M.2 128GB for 2,790 pesos. This will be used for our operating system to have faster boot times, and even having only 128GB of ultra-fast storage can make everything feel faster. For the bulk storage, we have WD BLUE 1TB for 2,200 pesos. For the case, I chose the TECWARE EDGE for 1,950 pesos. This case supports ATX motherboards, has 3 included 120mm fans, has routing holes with rubber grommets. The I/O has a USB 3.0, and it even has a tempered glass side panel to show off the expensive components we have inside. All in all, the total cost of this build will be 49,990 pesos. If you like this type of videos, leaving a like will definitely let me know. Comment below what you want to see in the next videos, and thanks for watching.